Every successful entrepreneur, from Julius Caesar to Jeff Bezos, used exactly the same strategy. Not a software, not a funnel, just 3 words. Figure shit out. When you're trying to do anything in life, especially when you're trying to do something big, most people try to look for a framework to follow, right? Or instructions, step by step. How do you get from point A to point B? Unfortunately, life doesn't really work that way. Sure, you should read about these successful entrepreneurs, these successful people in history, and try to kind of learn some lessons from them. But remember, these are different people who existed in different times and were doing different things. So chances are what they did might have worked for them, but it won't work for you. The only thing they have in common with you and everybody else is that they learned to figure shit out. Because when shit hits the fan, and it inevitably is going to hit the fan in your life, that is the only way that it's guaranteed 100% of the time to work to get you past that. You have to look at the problem objectively and figure the shit out. The FSO method is just taking the problem, looking at it objectively, as is. So don't add all that color around it like we normally do when we look at problems and kind of add our own emotions and everything to it. Look at the problem and write it down. An example I'll give you is, if you're launching your own business, is my problem is I don't have enough customers. Okay, objectively look at why you don't have enough customers, and don't say, well, my product is amazing if it isn't. Just think about why the customers are not coming to you and make a whole list of those reasons from start to finish, everything you can think of. And don't just spend 5 minutes on that, spend 20 minutes, spend an hour if you can. And I'm dating myself, it's gonna make me a little old school, but I like taking out an actual pen and paper and a notebook and writing this stuff down there. And just sit there in a quiet room with nobody else and write out those 100 reasons why nobody is buying your product at this time. Step number 2, you start going through those and figure out which one could I solve that would have the biggest impact in taking care of this problem. Usually you'll have 5, maybe 10 of those things that'll work out better than the other ones. Put those, copy those over, and then break that down to the top 3 and think really hard about it. Because especially maybe of those top 10, it'll be easy for you to take out like 5 of them, you'll get rid of them pretty quickly, but those last 5, you're like, they're all about the same. Pick 3, and then write down the step-by-step what you're gonna do to get past those issues. And here's the most important part, now actually go out and do that. Because that's where a lot of people get stuck up. So to figure shit out, there's a first step that's in your head, where you're like, okay, I actually mentally figured it out. But then the physical stuff is where people get hung up on, right? Then go out and actually do it. And it's okay. Remember, part of the FSO method is the first idea you have might not work. So what do you do when an idea doesn't work? You apply the FSO method once again to it, and you figure that problem out. And then you try that, that's gonna get you a little closer to your goal. Then you run into that next problem, and then once again, you apply the FSO method, you figure shit out, and then you get past that problem. Pretty soon, that whole problem has been taken care of, then you start moving down the list. By the time you get to number 5 or 6, even if you start with a list of 100, I guarantee to you that most of your issues will be taken care of, and you will have figured shit out. Now you just have to go back and figure out the next problem that you have and move forward. This is a process you can apply to every single step of your business. There'll be an overarching FSO, and then there'll be these little minor FSOs as you're doing it. Like, think of it as the season of a TV show. Like, there's, the whole 24 episodes, and then there's all these little minor episodes that happen, and at the end of each one of those, they've solved one problem. By the end of it, the whole storyline, the story arc has been taken care of. The reason why frameworks alone don't work is they have way too many assumptions in them that don't apply to most of our lives. Remember, if you followed the exact framework that Jeff Bezos used to create Amazon today, this is 2025, I don't know, 20, 30 years, I don't know exactly when he started Amazon, but 20 or 30 years ago, it's not gonna work. Why? Well, you're not Jeff Bezos. It is not the same time, it's decades later. The world has changed. You're not in the same place that he was. You don't have access to the same resources he did. Or you might not have the same drive that he did. You don't have the same friends that he did. So while you can take it, and his frameworks are not useless, it'll get you closer maybe than you would have done if you just tried to figure it all out by yourself, but it definitely will not have created Amazon for you. It might create something more successful, it might create something less successful. But the point is, in order to take it to that step, you will have to figure shit out, because all of those instructions, some of them will work, some of them won't work, and that is the issue with people who try to sell these one-off frameworks like, do this and you'll guaranteed success. If anybody tells you that, the only person who's getting rich off of that, I promise you, is the person who sold you the course. So you might be asking, like, who else in history has used the FSO method? And unfortunately, the software I'm using only allows me to record record a video that's 2 hours long. So I can't go through everybody because the FSO method has actually been used by every single successful person you have ever heard of and not heard of in your life. Mahatma Gandhi in India, when he wanted to give more freedom, he figured shit out. He didn't have the resources. He didn't have millions of people following him on day one. He just figured shit out. If you want to go to the United States, Martin Luther King figured shit out. Churchill, during World War II, he figured shit out. There was no framework. Nobody gave Churchill is like, okay, you want to beat the Nazis? Here, follow these 8 steps and you can beat the Nazis. That's not how it worked. He figured shit out. He was surrounded by other people who were figuring shit out, and that is how they were able to turn the tides of the war. The reason why adaptability beats planning is because planning will always change, while adaptability never will. You can always apply adaptability to any aspect of your life. By its nature, it's you adapting. It's what we were evolved to do. Evolution is just a story of adaptability, right? Those people who adapted, those animals that adapted, survived and continued to the next generation and passed on the genes. And so we were built to adapt. We can apply that on a micro level that doesn't take millennia and millions of years to do, to our businesses and to our life. And that's actually what the FSO method is teaching you. It's teaching you how to adapt. It's giving you, even though I've said don't use frameworks, it's giving you a framework around all the frameworks, which is just figure shit out. Break it down to smaller steps, figure it out, move on to the next one. There is no secret. Don't wait till you kind of see this exact YouTube video that teaches you exactly how to do it. It's not what you're looking for. It won't get you where you want to be. Just figure shit out. If you're trying to develop the mindset of figuring stuff out, and it seems too daunting to figure out all the problems at the same time, find a really, really small problem and start with that. Figure that out. Build up the muscle. An analogy I use all the time is go to the gym and lift that pink weight, that 1 pound weight, and do curls with it. And I don't care if your form is off and you look bad and you're embarrassed to be there and you think everybody's staring at you. Spoiler alert, nobody's staring at you, nobody cares. But go there and do it every single day. And trust me, at the end of a week, in a month, when you're figuring shit out, that pink dumbbell after a while is like, nah, this is easy. Then you're gonna move on to the green dumbbell. That's a 2 pound dumbbell. And you can keep on doing that. But before you know it, a year down the road, 5 years down the road, you'll be curling like 100-pound dumbbells and won't even notice because you're so used to figuring shit out that you've changed your life. When it comes to your business, the way you would apply it for your business is you need to go through the business and find the biggest bottlenecks in your business. What is slowing down your business the most? And if you're in the online education space like me and you're stuck, let's say at 500, 2.5 million, I'll give you an example. I know where you're stuck the most. If you answer the question, who thinks about growing your business every single day, and the only answer to that question is, me, the founder, then you are the biggest bottleneck in the business. And this is where you would apply the FSO method to it. You'd go and look at it and you'd say, okay, if I'm the only person thinking about growing my business and I want to grow from 500,000 to 5 million, how do I do that? And the solution, and spoiler, I can give it to you here, is usually you hire other people who are just as vested in the business as you, and they help you grow. So you're not the only person that's lifting it forward. That's just one example. Depending on the stage of the business you're in, you'll find other things that are keeping the business from reaching the levels you want it to get to. Whether the level you want it to get to is $100,000, which is great, or if you want to get it to $100 million, there's always going to be something that's keeping you from getting there. So the FSO method is most effective when it's applied to the biggest bottleneck in your business. The FSO method is especially useful when you're scaling and or pivoting the business, and those two things can be happening at exactly the same time. You see, whenever you're scaling, all the problems that you thought you'd solved in the past will come up again and be amplified. So you're going to have to apply the FSO method to those. And then you're going to be faced with new problems you didn't even know you were going to have. And I'll give you some examples. In one of the companies that I'm building right now, we've scaled from about $20,000 or $30,000 a month to $400,000 a month in the last 18 months. And I know on the surface that sounds, wow, amazing, everything's going great. And hopefully to our customers, it actually looks like things are going great. But behind the scenes, we can't hire fast enough because it's a productized education business, so it's provided by real humans. It's not just a software where we flip a switch and suddenly everybody has access to it. We can't hire fast enough. So we are applying the FSO method to the business to see how we can start hiring qualified and skilled people to do the job faster than we had to do before. There is no playbook. There's nobody who's built this business in the way we're doing it before, in the year that we're doing it right now, that we can follow. So we are figuring shit out. You don't need another guru. You need the courage to figure shit out. If you want to get free access to my masterclass, click on the link below and you can learn exactly what I did to scale my businesses so you can take it home, learn it yourself, and hopefully reach the same level of success.